What it do, my good people? It's your boy, the Notorious DOC, coming at you from the dirty ashtray. Let me get this microphone kind of situated. There we go. That's a little bit better. I hope everybody's doing pretty good, or has been doing pretty good. Yes, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's been a minute since been on here, but gotta work. Man, work has been busy, very busy, so really hadn't had time to make a video. But I promise y'all, I am going to try to do my best to get better at that. Yes, I am still flying solo. My co-host, I couldn't tell you. Don't know when he's coming back. But, I mean, he's still alive, he's kicking. Same thing with him, work. So, with further ado, I'm going to talk about the topic of today. I know it's the 4th of July, and, people celebrate it, but 4th of July is not my holiday. Juneteenth is my holiday, and I'm not going to stress on Juneteenth. That's not what the topic is. They saying that, this is the 250th year of, America, blah, blah, blah. That's 1776, yada, yada, yada. But 250 years ago, black people were still slaves. On 4th of July, they was out there picking cotton, cutting the fields, baling hay, whatever they did back in 1776. Farming in the heat, doing whatever, getting whipped, getting beat. Women were getting raped. So, you know what I'm saying. Now, I don't want y'all to think that I'm, Mustafa, fight the power and all that, because, I'm not. But, I am an African-American man. And, it is what it is. 250 years ago, like I said, black people were still slaves. That was the year 1776. Black people didn't get free for another 246 years. 1865. Now, you think about that shit. Now, I'm going to ponder this question to y'all. Now, no people should be enslaved, period. Black, white, Hispanic, green, orange, Chinese, whatever the case is. Nobody should be a slave, period. Now, if that script was flipped, even today, let's just say today, every minority, black person, Asian person, whatever, we just said, fuck it. Every white motherfucker in this world, we're going to enslave them now. How do you think that they would feel? They would fight. Oh, yeah, of course they would fight. Big time. It's like the white people now. So I ain't going to say all the white people. Let's rewind this tad. There are some very good white people in this world, just like it's some very bad white people in this world. Just like it's some very good black people in this world, like it's some very bad black people. It's people, period. It's good people and it's bad people. And if you saw it today on the news, you had the masked people walking up on Washington with, some of them had Confederate flags, some of them had the United States flag turned upside down. And, I ain't going to even explain that to y'all. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. But why you got to hide your face? Because most of you got good jobs, lawyers, doctors, some of y'all even police, and you don't want to get called out. But that's neither here nor there. Now, I didn't know I just saw the glimpse of the little story that was going on, but that shit shouldn't hold water to anything. In today's society, black people do get treated differently. Same as Asian people. I mean, any minority, unless you're a white person, you get treated differently. Excuse me, y'all. And, I've seen it. I've had it been done to me before. And, you don't like it. Some people, I when it happens to me, I could go off, I could go nuts, I could say some stupid ass shit, but I don't. I normally usually just leave the establishment. I was in the establishment about a month or so ago. Went in, and I'm not going to call them out, and I'm not going to claim the store or whatnot, but I went in there to, look around, purchase some items or whatnot, and they was following me. They first of all, they looked at me when I walked in the door, and they followed me around the whole establishment, and I couldn't find anybody to help me. I wanted to ask questions. Nobody wanted to help me, but it was one guy. He was a white guy. I'm walking around lost. And this is a big name chain store. Like I said, I'm not gonna mention the name, but white guy, big heavyset white guy. He saw me looking. I was all bewildered, and he said, "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" I was like, "Yeah, man. I'm looking for." It was my sink. My kitchen sink had started leaking, and I was looking for some parts for it. And went up there to the little local. It's a hardware store. Let's just say that. Went to the hardware store. No, it's not Home Depot and it's not Lowe's. But I went to the store, and like I said, nobody wanted to help me. But this one heavyset white guy, he's like, "Sir, can I help you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I told him what I was, trying to do. And he looked at the little gasket I had, and he was like, "Well, that gasket's not in bad shape, but it's all disfigured a little bit, like it was warped." And he said, "Try you put your putty on," and yada yada. And he kind of told me what I needed to do, and I told him appreciate it. So when I went to the front counter, a little young white guy, he didn't say hello, good evening, how you doing, none of that. He just grabbed my little package and scanned it, told me what my price was, and I kind of made a little funny joke to him, and he didn't laugh. And then he said something else to me, and I couldn't hear him, And I said, "Excuse me," and he kind of looked at me like, "Motherfucker, I'm not going to repeat myself." So, like I said, I needed the part. I got it. I went home, fixed my shit, and, carry on. So, needless to say, I won't be venturing to that store too much. I mean, if I have to go to it, I will. I don't give a fuck. If my money is green, you're going to take my money. You can look at me all you want to, but I wouldn't give a damn. But back to what I was saying, the 4th of July. What does the 4th of July to mean to a lot of people? You get a day off. It happened to be on Saturday this year. My establishment where I work at, they gave us Friday off. And, cool with that. It's a day off. Yeah, I'll take it. And, I did the normal thing like everybody else does. I fired up my barbecue pit, yada, yada, yada. But I didn't fire up my barbecue pit because it's the 4th. I fired it up because I wanted barbecue today. And that was that. I didn't buy any fireworks and shit like that. Didn't do that. And I've seen a lot of postings today on Facebook, this is not my holiday. 1776, 250 years. And I do get it. I totally understand. And, I ain't gonna say they need to rename, because some people talking about they need to rename the 4th. Juneteenth is our holiday, and Juneteenth is actually, because I live in Texas, and the story about that. It was a while before we were all freed, or they were all freed down here in Texas. So that Juneteenth kind of holds a sentimental value to most African Americans that live down here. Now, no, I was never a slave. No, I couldn't tell you how it was to be a slave. I have to go on what history says. And what Donald Trump is trying to do, he's trying to erase history to where, slavery wasn't a thing. But you can't erase that. That's going to be here forever. That's a mark on this country until there is no more country. But with that being said, eventually, one day, we all gonna come together, and it ain't gonna be any more racism. I mean, when I say racism, I mean the color, getting downgraded or being looked at by your color of your skin. I look at things, and this is me being corny right now. I look at things like, you see, if you ever looked at Star Trek, Star Trek, it has multiple racial things. Gene Roddenberry was a visionary. He saw shit. And, I tip my hat to that man. Because, he gave an African American woman a role on the show, and it was a woman of power. She had rank. And, that says some things. But he had a vision, of how this world could be. To where it don't matter what you look like, who you are, where you came from, what planet you came from, what race you are, that, everything is treated equal. We ain't gonna have to, back in Star Trek, I'm just, like I said, I'm just being myself a nerdy, a Trekkie, a sci-fi guy, whatever. But in the world of Star Trek, people don't have to worry about being homeless. People don't have to worry about food. Money is book. People don't have to worry about money. And, that would be a glorious thing if something like that was to ever, come to fruition. And, it might not be in my time, might not be in my kids' time, but hopefully it's in their kids or their kids' time that, everybody's on the same page. And, we all look at things, the same way. And, of course, you're always going to have that one or two that's going to fight and go against the opposition of the norm. Plotting against the organization, as I see it, when I'm at work. You get a group of guys and they sitting in the corner and they talking. I was, y'all plotting against the organization. So, with that being said, the 4th of July. If you celebrate it, you celebrate it. That's what you do. That's your thing. I can't say that I haven't celebrated it in the past, but, the older I get, the more stuff I read, the more stuff I look at. It's not a black person's holiday. It shouldn't be celebrated, for the thing it's celebrated for. I know it's independence and all that and yada, yada, yada. But the black people, they weren't independent. They were slaves. And, if, like I say, if the script flip was turned and everybody started trying, they ain't say we just enslaved white people. White people were slaves now. They do our bidding. There's a movie out with John Travolta in it. I can't remember the name of it. But look it up. It's where white people are the poor people. African Americans and other races, they are rich. They are the well off. They the hoop-de-doo. And White Man's Burden. That's what it's called. White Man's Burden. And it's a trip. It's a tripped out movie. Straight up Twilight Zone type kind of shit. But it's an interesting take on if the roles were ever reversed. How would it be? I want to say Samuel L. Jackson is in the movie, but I cannot remember. I know John Travolta was in it, and he was like the poor white guy, and the other black guy was his boss, and it was a good movie. Good movie. If you like movies like that, it was a good movie. But white people lose their minds, and you get that talk of these white people now. And when I say white people, I mean these hateful white people. My neighbors are white, and they good people. I cut for them. They cool with me, and I'm cool with them. But if white people to really try and get to be enslaved like black people were back in the 1700s, I'm quite sure that they would fight. And you got some white people out there now that want to take us back to slavery, want to take away our rights and shit. We not our ancestors. If that shit was to happen, two things gonna happen. There's more of us than it is of them. We got just as many guns as they do, if not more. We just don't boast it and show it all the time. And the second thing is, it's going to be a lot of dead people on both sides. And I hate to say it, and I don't even want to think about it, but the way things is going, there might be a race war coming. I kind of doubt it. You know, I tell my son that all the time. He's in the military. You know, if a race war pops up, what you gonna do? I'm like, Dad, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, and that's true. I couldn't tell you what I would do. You know, I live in the suburbs, in the suburban area. It's not a lot of black people out here where I live. It's mostly, you know, white. And you know, like I said, I'm cool with that. You know, I don't bother them. They don't bother me. They cool. They speak. Say good morning, good evening, how you doing, Merry Christmas, whatever, Happy Hanukkah, whatever the case is. But the 4th of July, it's a peculiar thing now. And, you know, like I was saying, you know, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook, and nothing really negative on Facebook. It's just been, you know, a lot of the African American people, you know, I'm not celebrating it today. You know, so a lot of African American people didn't even barbecue today like we normally do. And, you know, they come up with that, you know, the woke shit and all that, you know, stay woke, yada, yada, yada. You know, it's not stay woke. It's just be vigilant is the word I'm looking for. You know who you are, stay the course, but you don't have to hate people. You know, and you know, I come from, you know, a little mixed race little thing. You know, my grandmother was of a different race. She wasn't black. My grandfather, he wasn't really black. And you know, but I consider myself a black man. And, you know, it is what it is. Black man to listen to rock and roll music. How about that? I like rock and roll music better than I like rap music. But that's just my upbringing. You know, I was raised around a lot of white people, went to school around a lot of white people, and they were all cool. I you know, went to school in the 80s. I'm an MTV kid, as I tell people. But the 4th of July, you got to think about it. Do we change it? Or do we make it better? Do we acknowledge the shit on what was going on back in the 1700s? Or do we just forget about it? We'll never forget about it. You know, like I say, Trump, he's trying to get rid of a lot of shit. But the courts have kicked him in his damn head, or kicked him in the nuts, as they say. A lot of this shit they reinstating, which is a good thing. Now, my thing is on that, it can never disappear if you teach your kids. If you're a black person or African American, whatever the terminology is, if you teach your kids who Medgar Evers is, who Malcolm X is, who Martin Luther King is, or was, you know, they're gone to glory now. Or if you teach your kids who Huey P. Newton is, or Nat Turner, some of those people, teach them. Marcus Garvey, Farrakhan. Now Farrakhan, he is still alive. Or many of the other prominent black people that came up, that fought for our rights, that took beatings by the police, got sprayed for sitting at a counter. Things that you do today is because of Martin Luther King, because of Malcolm X, because of Huey P. Newton, because of those men fighting for our rights that didn't and wouldn't give up. So these youngins that come up now that, you know, don't give a damn, fuck this, fuck that, the N-word, stop. You giving them ammunition to just say we animals, and we're not. Damn near everything that you see today, that you use today, from the comb to the street light to the cotton that gets woven into your clothes, was created by a black man. Even the whiskey, the Jack Daniels whiskey that you drink, was created by a black man. But a lot of people don't know that. You got to read. You got to pick up a book. You got to do your research, people. You got to do your research. I'm going to pause for a second, and I'll be right back. All right, y'all, I'm back. Had to go potty, but it's all good. But 4th of July, what does it mean to you? What it used to mean to me was, hey, it's a holiday. You're going to barbecue. You're going to shoot the fireworks off. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. But what it means to me today, as an African-American man, it means that we still not free yet. It's an ongoing fight. It's an ongoing battle. And until the day that everyone is treated equal, we'll never be free. We'll always be fighting. Sometimes we fight an uphill battle on ice. But black people persevere for 400 and something years. Black people are going to keep on persevering. We built like that. We made for this. So, in parting words, I want y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. But I want y'all to comment more than anything. If you just comment, you ain't got to like. You don't even have to subscribe. I want you to, because that will always help my channel. But comment, make some comments on this. What does the 4th of July mean to you? Whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, German, Russian, I wouldn't care what you are. Like, comment, and subscribe. Keep them respectful. If you don't mind, keep them respectful. But if you don't, say what you got to say. That's what the dirty ashtray is for getting shit out, saying what you want to say, no holds barred, and do what you do. So, as I always say, in closing, live long and prosper, peace and prayers. It's your boy, the Notorious DOC, and I'm out. Peace.